Hey everybody, I'm That One Guy, and I wanted to create a series of videos to go over the Weakauras I've created. The whole purpose of the Weakauras is obviously to help you better understand your spec and hopefully help you play better as a result, but also to gamify the game. Because WoW does present you with some spell alerts for the specs you play, but not all. And so that leaves you looking for ways to identify if a certain buff or debuff is active. And that's where Weakauras can come in play. And I wanted to do more than just have an icon with a timer in it, right? I wanted to try to present you with visual effects that make it feel more like a video game and immerse you more into the spec you're playing. At least that's the idea. So in these videos, I'm going to go over the Weakauras I've created, how I intend for them to work, and show you how you can modify them if you'd like. So whether you've already found my Weakauras, or you're looking for some for a certain spec, or you just want to have a better idea of how Weakauras work in general, hopefully these videos will help you with that. So Frost Death Knight, another spec where I feel like there is a lot going on, a lot of resources to track, different types of cooldowns and things like that, but let's just look at the Weakauras we made. So this would be everything, right? But again, it's not all going to be on your screen all at the same time. We're just going to go through the base Frost Death Knight stuff and then come back and talk about the hero talents. So, make it all go away. This would be the general Death Knight stuff, the thing that's there for every spec. This is currently set to never load, but what it would do if you have it loaded is behind the runes that are spec specific. These are the frost runes. They look different than the unholy Death Knight runes if you saw those. But behind those would then be a desaturated or grayed out ring of the same thing, but without the rune in the middle. And instead it would be a number showing you the cooldown basically of that rune until it becomes available again. I had it in there and then I decided I didn't really like that, just because it meant there was something permanently on my screen. It didn't really do much for me as far as information goes. Me seeing that there's 6 seconds until I have all 6 runes back didn't really change my mind about things. But that's just me. Then runic power, it will turn dark blue when you're over 80, just kind of another visual cue that, hey, you know, if you can cap if you do obliterate again, all right, then you're gonna cap your runic power, kind of deal. Death and decay, it glows like that when you have 1 or more charges and the buff is not active. When the buff is active, it's just going to be like a little progress bar that ticks down. It won't have that glow around it, but then when the buff has expired and you have a charge available, that will be present and glowing. Just again, another visual cue that, hey, cast your Death and Decay. Unholy Strength, right? It'll only load in Frost right now and when you're in Reaper's Mark, because as I was reading the guide, it basically was like, do Frost Worm's Fury if, you know, once Unholy Strength procs, or if you're unlucky at the end of Pillar of Frost. But then for Rider of the Apocalypse, it was like, just cast it with Pillar of Frost. So it seemed like you only would really care about it in terms of 1 spec and 1 loadout. So it's only set to load for those, right? So if you wanted to change that, sorry, not Death and Decay, Unholy Strength. If you wanted to change that, right now it's set to just load for Frost. If you want to know it for multiple specializations, Frost, Unholy, and Blood, you'd click on Class and Specialization again, and then just check them. I have it set to just do Frost and just show when you're in the Reaper's Mark talent, right? The Deathbringer hero talent, I should say. And then just a little cast bar. That's it. Right, so that's that for just like the general DK stuff. Moving on to the Frost things, like I said, the runes, they'll change for your spec, right? Frost, those look like Frost runes to me. Straightforward, 1 through 6. Pillar of Frost is 2 things, right? 1, it is this image letting you know that it's off cooldown. Those look like Pillars of Frost to me. I might make them skinnier, but right now, right, those will pop up when Pillar of Frost is off cooldown. And then when you activate Pillar of Frost, it'll be a slightly different color. You can see it's a little bluer and basically a little dimmer, and then a progress bar goes down. So you can tell when it's off cooldown, so you can use it off cooldown, and then when you've activated it, it's a little bluer, and then it's a progress bar down, so you know how much time is left on your Pillar of Frost. Killing Machine, straightforward, same thing. You know that proc. I just recreate stuff. 1, because I play with 0% spell opacity, but then 2, so I can be in control of the color of things and where they are. And I set a condition for this that when it's at 3 seconds or less, it'll desaturate, or kind of go white or gray, so you can tell it's about to expire. Right? So if you've been sitting at 1 the whole time and you see it goes gray, you know that, hey, that's about to expire and I may not get to use it at all. Same thing for rhyme, right? It'll sit up there just like regular rhyme, just like regular proc, and then when there's 3 seconds or less on that, it will turn a gray or white to let you know that it's about to expire. Frost Fever looks like an empty white box, but that's because it goes with Icy Talons and Unleashed Frenzy. These will show you when they're active, they'll be a color as opposed to grayed out, and they'll show you their stacks, right? But there won't be a timer on them. They will instead just glow when there are 3 seconds or less, okay? If you want that number to be different, right? And there we go, that's what I mean by grayed out and desaturated. If you want that number to be different for Unleashed Frenzy and Icy Talons, like, hey, I want it to glow when there's 4 seconds or 3.5 seconds or only when there's 1 second, whatever it may be, you click on them, go to the Conditions tab, and it's this condition right here, number 2, saying when the remaining duration is less than and equal to whichever number, and they'll glow. And then Frost Fever, again, because I'm a little OCD and like symmetry, I had to put it around both icons instead of just one. It doesn't need to be in both places. Again, that's just a me thing. When it's white like that, it means the debuff is not active on your target, and then it'll turn like a light blue when it's active and be a progress bar ticking down. And there, that's what I mean by they'll glow when they're about to expire, so you know to refresh them. Chill Streak, I tried a lot of different things and just settled on a snowflake. Right, when Chill Streak is off cooldown, you'll see those snowflakes. Right, there's a lot of different things I tried image-wise and just settled on that. Frost Scythe, right? No, it's not a scythe, but it's the closest thing I can come to. All right, when Frost Scythe is off cooldown, you will see those icons just to the left and right of your runic power and runes. And then Remorseless Winter, right? Similar to Death and Decay, when it's active, you'll see this progress bar telling you how much time is left on it. When it is not active but off cooldown, you will see this bar pop up, similar to Death and Decay, with the glowing blue stuff around it. So that's just another kind of visual way to say, hey, Remorseless Winter is off cooldown. Go ahead and click that button and then reactivate the buff. Okay, so that's that for your general Frost stuff, right? You get your Pillars of Frost, Killing Machine, Rhyme. This is what they look like when they're close to expiring, right? A little white-gray. Runes and Runic Power. So then we go to Deathbringer, okay? And I may shift these exterminates. They were up higher, but Deathbringer is shared with Blood, and Blood has stuff that's right there, so they were overlapping. So on Frost, I might have a condition where those are moved up, just so again that everything's closer and looks prettier. But for Deathbringer, Reaper's Mark, when it is off cooldown, you'll see that. I don't know that you need that, because it looked like for Frost, right, Reaper's Mark is a 45-second cooldown. You take the talent that makes Pillar of Frost a 45-second cooldown. You usually bind them together. But again, just in case maybe you don't have a target in range, you can still use Pillar of Frost, but you got to hit something to use Reaper's Mark. So if you don't hit anything and think you've pushed it, at least now you'll know if you got it off or not. So it's those red swords, right, flip-flopped, to let you know that Reaper's Mark is off cooldown. And then Exterminate, when you have that, these are your charges of Exterminate, right? It's just the icon, just made a little more colorful, right? So for your charges of Exterminate 1, 2, whenever you have that buff, you'll see those icons there. And I'll show all this kind of like a little bit of gameplay, not as a guide, just kind of showing how Weakauras work here in just a little bit. And Rider of the Apocalypse is this, right? Pretty straightforward. When you summon one of the horsemen, you'll see an icon and a color associated to that horseman. You'll see them on your screen, right? If you're looking up here and watching the game and seeing all the visual effects, you'll be able to see, and then this just will reinforce which one you summoned. You want to know which one's which. Red is Mograine, yellow-green is Nazgrim, that blue is Trollbane, and the purple-pink is Whitemane. I don't have anything that says what they each do, right? Like there's nothing that has, you know, Mograine's Might or the Chains of Ice from Trollbane. You will get the Death and Decay buff, right? It'll be present there, but if you need to know those, you can add something that is kind of an overlay on those, kind of indicating that their buff or debuff is active. But at the same time, if those horsemen are active, the abilities associated with them are usually rolling. Like Chains of Ice goes from being on a target when Trollbane is active, and when it expires, he refreshes it if he's still up, right? And same thing go for Mograine. He has his Mograine's Might the whole time. She's doing her Undeath debuff, right? He gives you Apocalyptic Strength, which is active while he's active. And when you kill people, you get more. So that's that for those ones. Now, let's see what it looks like when you're actually playing. I think I'm in Deathbringer right now. And then, you know, if I've gone through all of this and you thought, wait, what about blank? Let me know in the comments so I can add it. But I felt like this was everything you might need to track. Not tracking the Soul Reaper because I didn't see it ever be taken, but there is a Soul Reaper Weakura inside Unholy's pack if you wanted that, but it's going to be in the exact same spot as where Frostlight is, so you'd have to get creative and move it some. So, this is what you'll see when you're not in combat, right? Nothing. And then as soon as you enter combat, right, you'll see there's your debuffs that aren't active. There's your Frost Fever that's not active. There's a Killing Machine proc. This is telling you Pillar of Frost and Reaper's Mark are both off cooldown, and there are your runes, right? As you use your runes, right, and you build your runic power, when you get to 80 or more, it turns that dark blue, right? Because, hey, another Obliterate is going to overcap your runic power if you care about that. That's your rhyme, and that lets you know it's about to expire. And this is what I mean by Remorseless Winter. When it's available to be cast but is not active, you will see that empty progress bar, right? Glowing, and same with Death and Decay, empty and glowing. Death and Decay looks like that when it's active. Remorseless Winter looks like that when it's active, okay? And again, Pillar of Frost, Reaper's Mark, right? And it went away for a second there because it couldn't be used. That's why I did that. And then you'll see when Remorseless Winter comes back up off cooldown in 3 seconds, it's going to be empty and glow again, right? Just letting you know it's off cooldown. And there was your Frost Fever debuff going and expiring. And then as for Pillars of Frost, right? There you went from being something you could push, right? A button you could push, to no longer being able to push it, okay? Until it expires. And this is also what I meant by not having the cooldowns there. Oh look, there's my Exterminates. Because you could have, like I said, an empty thing letting you know the cooldown of those runes, but sometimes, like, I'm like, all right, I'm at 0 charges, and I'll eventually get more back. And there we used our Exterminates, right? And it applies Frost Fever, and away it goes. So that's kind of what it would look like as you're playing, and if you're going along, you'll see the Pillar of Frost thing come back up, and it would and should come back up. And we got some more Exterminates, right? With your Pillar of Frost, there you go, and Reaper's Mark. There may be one other thing that I should throw in there to track. I think there's a debuff that Deathbringer will apply to your target. But for now, yeah, your Reaper's Mark. Because I did see something where it was like, hey, if you're moving from pack to pack, right, make sure you hang on to that second Exterminate to apply Reaper's Mark to people. But again, I kind of feel like that's something that just happens rather than something that you're playing around. If you disagree and you're like, no, I absolutely need a debuff tracker for Reaper's Mark, let me know. And I'll try to put that in there. But that would be it as far as like what the Frost Weakauras look like and what it looks like with Deathbringer and things like that. So if I can, whenever I leave combat, there we go, switch this over to Rider. Not much really changes for Deathbringer and Frost, other than, like I said, the stuff for Reaper's Mark goes away. But everything else would stay the same, right? You're still going to have the same visuals, letting you know when there's Pillar of Frost. You just won't see, like I said, that Reaper's Mark stuff, right? You'll see Remorseless Winter, your Death and Decay, if you have your debuffs active or not, things like that. And then there you can see you summoned in one of the Riders, and if you want to see them all at the same time, you just push this button. And there they all are, right? No problem. There's all the Riders of the Apocalypse, all of them doing their thing. You can see there is Chains of Ice, there it goes, because Trollbane is active, and when it expires, he puts it right back up, which is what I was kind of getting at with, I don't really know that you need something separate to track that, because if he's there, he's going to put it there, right? And then you just keep playing the same. But that's what it would look like. I don't have anything else to kind of let you know that you're an empowered rune weapon. Nothing pops up, right? But I can add just like a nice visual effect if somebody wants that. I don't even have like a progress timer for that. So if you felt like, hey, I'm really missing out on knowing when a powered rune weapon is available and when it's active, then that'd be something I'm happy to add in, because like I said, trying to make things more like a video game and letting you know that you have the buffs that you expect to have is part of that. But that's it. Like I said, if you feel like I missed anything or anything else needs to be included, just let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, hope you like it and have fun. Again, I hope you found that helpful. I do intend to make a Weakura pack for every spec. So if I haven't made one for the spec that you play or that you'd like to see, just comment that down below. Again, I do intend to make one for every spec, but if I see people asking for it or really wanting one, I'll probably get to it quicker than if I just do it on my slow, leisurely pace. I hope it will enhance your gameplay. Like I said, it's all about gamifying the game and making it more fun and more immersive for you, while also helping you improve as a player because the information that you need to react to is hopefully more readily available. If you have any other questions about this Weakura pack that you just watched or any other ones, again, please feel free to comment. I try to be as interactive as possible in my YouTube section. And that's it. Hope you have a great day.